Testing, 1, 2, 3.
I heard you.
Okay. I guess we don't have cameras. Oh,
Oh, I got a camera.
okay.
Okay, this is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Special Committee on the Future of our Consolidated Parks and Rec Facility. And here in City Hall at around the table, we have Chris Groton, Joe from Parks and Rec, Debbie Jondro, Nikki Barnum, myself, Mike Burrow, John, Mike, and Tracy Willett. And so we'll kick it off with, and on screen we have Barry Dunn with Elsa Fisher. So, and Carl Lebo. So Tracy, if you want to kick it off, the first item is the discussion of pro forma.
So a couple of things we have, and we might flip the order. I think we're best to flip the order. And as Gretchen mentioned, we also have joining us this afternoon, Elsa Fisher from Barry Dunn, Tom Deal from Barry Dunn, and Carl Lebo from CHA. CHA has been the architect that has been part of the process and part of the team from the beginning of the original feasibility study. So go. What I thought we'd do in the interest of time and try to make it as efficient as possible, start with the document that's entitled Executive Summary, and then transition into the actual pro forma for the facility itself. So the executive summary, thumbnails and summarizes for you some updates as far as estimated construction costs, some updated numbers on per square foot. And as we've talked about a few times, and once I get through kind of the summary with you all, it's a good opportunity for you to ask questions of the team you have here and in front of you on the screen. It's a best faith estimate of conditions right here, right now, based on what we propose to construct. I think you'll find the team from Barry Dunn at CHA tried to be thoughtful of giving the community a top-rate facility within the constraints and within the parameters of being as conscious of cost as possible. So paging through, they took each piece of, and recall that we've also added the fitness components to this as well. So through the pages, you'll have estimated construction costs of the rec center. You'll have estimated construction costs of the skating center, the maintenance building, and remember that we would be moving our park maintenance division where it's kind of a split crew between Joe's crew at Sawyer Arena and the park maintenance city crew, for lack of a term, at the Armory, Park and Rec Center down on Main Street. In addition to that, from the beginning, we have reached out, and the school department maintenance would be joining our park maintenance staff. So they would be together in one building. Currently, school maintenance is housed in what's left of a couple of bays in behind the high school. A bit of history, I believe, where they currently are was auto shop, wood shop. Somewhere over there.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I think they lost wood shop in the last 12 months, so.
Yeah. So they're, and the bigger picture was the school department is continually searching for instructional space at the high school. So this was a good opportunity to bring school maintenance. We share a lot of resources as it is now. The Health and Human Services building, that's been one of those blocks that was identified in the beginning. That's there. You can somewhat consider that as an ad alternate type cost, in that not entirely certain if that will be where we land. At one point, we had some preliminary discussions about the possibility of the school needing a building there. I mentioned that specifically because at one point it was in the original pro forma. We have withdrawn that out. So there is some of the square foot costs, and then the ongoing pages will share with you some of the factors that CHA used to determine those estimates. We talk about the parking lot and some amenities and options and the number of spaces. As we've talked about before, and how we arrived at Griffin Road, the site is probably the most The easiest site to utilize both for current construction because it's flat and open. And all utilities should be there in close proximity. And certainly allows for future expansion if indeed the city were to go in that direction, or the Parks and Recreation Department. Some potential site improvement costs on the following pages. At the bottom of, not the last page, but next to the last page, as we've talked about from the beginning, some future amenities that have always been included in the concept, the new Park and Rec Center. And the final page of the executive summary is total estimated project costs, both with the phase one, which would be the new center, and then some future project costs, which encompasses the full project cost total at the bottom. CHA did a fairly not detailed, but certainly did some background for you in these pages as to how they arrived at the estimates they have. We all, I think, understand and agree that what is true today may not be true tomorrow. So those of you around the table that are more directly involved in those types of estimating and project costs know that full well. So I think I will stop there and open the table for questions of the executive summary before we actually move into the operation of the center itself. And and to Deb and Joe, if I missed anything along the way. But I think we've got to a point where we're in a decent place. Questions?
I have one. Mine is just, is there any sort of appraisal of the Armory property and things like that that would offset the costs if we were to condense?
So we haven't done a formal appraisal yet of what the city would do with the property. It's a question's come up obviously a number of times. We haven't done that yet. I had a quick discussion with Ann Krieg, the Economic Development Director, and as we get, and that can be included in your report to council, a formal appraisal as a possibility to offset debt service, or however that would be, either the full sale of the property or some sort of repurpose. Given its location, the current Park and Rec Center's location, I would guess, as the Parks and Rec Director, not knowing a whole lot about real estate, that would have some value down there, if indeed.
Well, I think it's one of those things that's important for people to know, like, this is a big number, but just like when you're buying a house and selling a house, that usually whatever you sell your house for helps contribute to the new house.
Along the same vein of discussion and since Soy Arena is gonna be a different approach. It's within Hayford Park. Hayford Park was deeded to the city when the Air Force left through its Lands to Parks program. That comes with it's been a great program, and certainly the city has been fortunate with the amount of green space we were able to receive from the federal government. It comes with parameters and conditions, so that would be a little different. But the Armory, I keep referring to the Armory, but the Park and Rec Center, the corner property where the building sits, and then there's another couple of acres behind us.
Any other questions?
Carl, did I miss anything that you wanted to make sure the committee was aware of?
No, I think that's good. I mean, I think that, you know, we escalated the pricing based on the original report, and then, you know, the vicissitudes of the marketplace with steel and that kind of thing are clearly a problem at the moment, but hopefully that will settle down. And I think what we labored to do is really create a cost-effective pricing model with single story construction, pre-engineered components wherever we could, and then really focus kind of the more costly facade type stuff to the parking lot side, so that we can return to kind of more of a vanilla toward the back of the project. So I think that's really what our number, the cost models include.
If there are none, then I'll move over to the other document that we shared with you. The draft study with the fitness center edition. And again, it's function of updating what we had done about a year ago. Clearly, we've added the fitness component to it. And much like with the executive summary that Carl and his group had shared with you, and as we've just talked about, a new facility, we are not currently structured for this kind of building as a department. So in amongst the pages there in the document, you'll see several references to staffing, new staffing, in addition to how we're currently structured and budgeted. Hence why we're doing kind of parallel to this, an organizational assessment, both to assess where we're at now and in anticipation of this project. And Barry Dunn is doing that as well. I can share the screen when we get, there are some tables in there that the font is a bit small, but I don't know that those are kind of the items you want to get into today. But let's go down through it. The first section.
A real quick clarification, the fitness center edition, can you remind us what the words fitness center describe? Because it's not the gyms, it's not the track, it's not that part of the recreation center. So what was the fitness center edition actually envision?
Yeah, it's the weight room, cardio and weights.
So just pieces of equipment.
Piece of equipment.
Yeah, because we already had in there like, a room for like yoga and those type of things, multi-purpose room, but we didn't have a fitness center.
The when
equipment.
you use the word fitness center, you're
Yes.
referring to fitness equipment,
Yes.
room,
Yep.
equipment, how it's.
So.
Yeah.
To that question, and this is why we're having this discussion with you all today, and you'll see on the front, draft. So does the word center? Yeah, so we can merely call it fitness edition. It's not a separate building
Fitness
necessarily.
room Or something to make it.
We can even make it,
More component of the greater.
are you hearing this, Elsa?
Is that using fitness center?
No,
I was like,
No,
okay, what's
it's
included
direct
in
on
that?
that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
how can we? It's what you get when you go to a hotel and the
Right.
equipment's in the room. That, whatever, and I know in a hotel it's called fitness center, but for our purposes, is there
There's a whole
is there
center,
a room, way to
Yeah.
fitness room or fitness equipment room or something to denote?
fitness room,
Yeah.
About for the purposes of this, we just call it fitness edition.
fitness
Sure.
room.
Fitness room edition or fitness edition, yeah, okay.
Which is separate from the skating and the childcare and the.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And because
Separate.
everything's, kind of fitness and recreation and all that,
Yeah.
so I know it's a
Good.
small thing, but
Yeah.
just for further down the line.
So in the first section, you'll see a summary of how and the purpose and kind of the flow of the document. We talk about the rec center and ice arena feasibility study, the original study, which references back to some of the buildings we talked about earlier. There are some staffing assumptions that we'll need to make in order to run a facility such as this. And again, we're not structured in that way currently. So this would entail adding staff for the building to the entire park and recreation operation. Going to page 4. We made some assumption regarding facility hours. I think you'll find that most fitness areas generally open in around 5 in the morning, 6 the latest, and generally run until about 10 at night. They've listed out some opportunities for some revenue generation. Certainly fitness will be a popular amenity, as we've talked about already. Fitness it seems to be a need in this community, and certainly our addition to fitness at Parks and Rec will just further help the market all the way around. And then some other events on page 5. Going to page 6 is kind of that 5-year general estimate of expenses to revenue and estimated cost recovery. in all candor, we have no real solid way. We could do way better than this. This could be kind of how we see things go, going forward. But it's really difficult to make it it's a best estimate of based on what we have for information right now. This will be entirely new to the community, entirely new. So how will that go? Currently, we're structured, we recover about 40 to 45% the entire department. That includes our current childcare operation, that includes the programming in rec general, that includes the summer camp program that we do. That's a rough estimate of that subsidy. We met with Elsa's team a few times to kind of get the best estimate we can for you folks to consider. Other similar municipal, whether they're local or county run, do significantly better across the country, but we're trying to get the best fit for the population here in Bangor, and certainly with some surrounding community use from non-residents.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry I've been absent from this committee. I just keep having commitments on Thursdays, but I apologize if questions I'm asking have been asked
No.
before. I just want to note, first of all, I want to note, I am involved loosely with the YMCA capital campaign, and I'm just acknowledging that as potential conflict here, but I'm not compensated by it at all. I think I actually, and Nick and others who are involved, have good perspective, being aware of what's going on a little bit. And I just want to acknowledge that the Y is planning a $55 to $60 million facility. They're also going to be relying on revenue from fitness subscriptions. And I don't know if there's a thought that we're going to cannibalize each other here, if both projects are depending on that revenue.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed this, and one of the things that we've kind of brought up is that the Y is for the water in its liquid form, and City of Bangor is water in its frozen form. So when you have those two distinct groups of kids who are doing swim teams, hockey teams, dropping your kid off for hockey practice, you can use the fitness room, you're not driving across town to go to Y for the fitness room, things like that. So it's been, we've discussed it quite a bit.
Sorry,
That's okay.
I don't
it's
totally
okay.
agree with the
Okay.
perspective, because we've joined the Y just for fitness. We don't swim.
Yeah.
For the fitness aspect of it. It's just,
And it also provides one of the things I think is important to note is that it also sort of provides an east side fitness center and a west side fitness center. So getting down to the Main Street from far east side can take some time.
And to continue, so understand the question, and certainly that's a question that's come up a few times, and some of the points you've heard already here. One of the things that we found in looking and researching similar projects across the country, and there was actually a peer-reviewed study out there that one complements the other. One complements the other, and I think we shared that document here early on in the process. Happy to make it available to you as well. We're going to be meeting with the Y next week to share information. I think that has come up from here. And you all know from being here in the community, and both operations as a whole have worked together parallel. I mean, we use the example of childcare. Both of us have done childcare here for years, and there's still demand for childcare. I mentioned that specifically. I think that you'll find the fitness piece is somewhat analogous to the childcare. There's going to be a niche for those that want to go to Parks and Rec for fitness. There's going to be a niche for those that want to go to the Y for fitness. There's a niche of those that want to go to Planet Fitness, etc. What we have found here in the market, and I can certainly, Elsa and her team have done this across the country, and this concept is not new to any place else in the country. One will complement the other, and it will just increase the market all the way around, which is what the study from North Texas indicated. So we're cognizant of it. We're cognizant of the parallel projects. Both of us have fit the need and address the needs here in the community, both from childcare, recreation programming. I mean, We run very similar, we run the same programs. And again, to the niche that some folks enjoy the Y programming, some enjoy Parks and Rec. So it's a long-winded way of saying to you today that the fitness, I would envision being the same kind of niche and complementing each other.
I'd say the biggest overlap of anything new is the fitness room with the equipment and stuff. And part of the reason why I think that's a great idea, and also if it's not a great idea, it's fitness equipment that you can sell, and then you have a room that's open for programming to expand childcare, to do whatever, whereas everything else has been running, is not replacing anything that already exists.
I'm very pro fitness equipment, let me just say that. I'm mostly worried about the cash flow of the facility once stabilized. Cause you're relying on almost $700,000 of fitness center memberships. I just think that feels like a big number to me. If you don't hit it, it's not the end of the world, it just means the subsidy from the city taxpayers has to be higher, which people just need to be aware of. And maybe you hit it, maybe you exceed it, but yeah, by year 5, you have almost $1 million in fitness center revenue, that's a lot.
Yeah, no, and we went around, in all candor, we went around and around about this with Elsa's and Tom last week from Barry Dunn. And I can't say with certainty, none of those statements accurate or no, it's, we're trying to project as best we can with the best information that we can give you all as a committee to present a report next month. What we were hearing, and Elsa can correct me if I misspeak, that in some of these, there may be some conservative estimates based on their experience across the country. New England and Maine is a very different region than other places in the country, so we tried to err as best we could on what we thought was the most realistic estimate to give you all.
That is true, like they do this, and so they thought it would be even more, so we, like you, said, we gotta bring that down, because this is Bangor, like Tracy was saying, you know, the demographics here and everything, yeah.
I'd like to add one thing, so, based on what you said, you don't wanna have too many overlapping things, but if I have a child and put them in daycare, girls are older now, but, go to the fitness center, working out, that would be an ideal plan for me, and if I was gonna have Grandma and Grandpa pick up the kids, then maybe they could walk on the track, so if the children go to one center, they're more apt to join the fitness part of that particular facility. So I think, yeah, I mean, I don't see a whole lot of overlap. That's one of the things we talked about.
And one thing,
Overlapping.
right, and one thing that we did last year is visited 9 centers like this throughout the country. And that was the first question we had. Did it interfere? Do you have a Y in the community? Did it interfere and everything? And not one of them, every single one of them said that it actually enhanced both of them. And it made more people go out and see what's out there. And one enhances the other. They go to one and they say, oh, this is great. Oh, this place has a pool. They're gonna go there. So everywhere, there wasn't one that didn't do that. And honestly, that was something that we were concerned about. And
The other thing, there's a reason that Chris Groton sits at this table as a representative from the fine Husson University. I'm not there representing Husson. I'm here just because I'm a city person, but a partnership with Husson is also a possibility because of its location at the end, right at the end of our north entrance. So when you expand it beyond from childcare to, if you look at the old documents, like they even have a rate sheet for young adults, basically, that is a little bit discounted for people just starting out, or perhaps college students, or perhaps a college partnership with the city and that kind of thing. So there's other pockets that would be, that would still be met with that number.
I'll just add one. So the gyms are repetitive though, both sites have gym space, both sites have the track up above, and we kind of talked about that too, in the sense that during the winter, I mean, if there are a few more spaces to get out and be inside, that's a good thing too. So I'll throw that in there.
No,
too.
thank you. No, it's all good discussion and certainly good to keep reminding everyone of the things we've talked about. I'm gonna keep going. The next pages, the page 7 is again a summary. page 8 gets into the actual expenses, line item type expenses. Even with, I guess I can kind of see them with, I can put it on the screen if it helps. It details some of the staff areas, some of the actual line item costs that we would estimate to operate a facility such as this. And I will flip through those, and certainly you can take a look at those as we go through. I'm gonna skip on to page 10. There's a potential revenue generation, and again, we met about this a couple different times with Elsa and Tom about how best to estimate this kind of stuff, for lack of a better term. And then page 11 just summarizes the document. So that's our best estimate. It's not, and again, it's hard to do an apple to apple comparison from what we do now to what we would do in this new building. As I've said a couple different times, we're not really structured that way. Yes, on the one hand, we do operate Soy Arena, but we operate that 6 months a year, and Joe's crew will transition to the school side. So as you all know, we close Soy Arena down. In this scenario, we'd have ice, one sheet of ice year round. So it would need to dedicate a staff to that operation and still do what park maintenance and specifically Joe's crew is doing now for school facilities. So it's a whole different operation for us, and that pro forma accounts for that. I'm gonna go back to the screen and then open up the questions. Elsa, Tom, anything I missed that you want to make sure we note for the committee?
Oh. Can't hear her.
Did you unmute? Did you unmute, Elsa?
So she is unmuted, are we? Actually, doesn't show with the microphone at all.
Connection to audio. I'm busy here.
What's that?
She's connecting,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
hopefully. No,
Do you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have a camera, but my microphone works, and I think you pretty much said everything we talked about. We do believe that it will benefit the YMCA, and the YMCA would benefit this facility. We were conservative in our estimates. We did include, utilities and all the different costs that we thought you would have. And we were conservative in the number of fitness center memberships that we thought you might sell.
yeah, if you look at the numbers when it's broken down, it's really not that many memberships.
Mhm.
They're just all $10,000.
Memberships, are they assuming?
What's that?
There's difference for residents, non-residents, monthlies, annualies, and dailies.
So I mean, like, how many people? Like, so just isn't
Yeah.
chicken scratch math here. And if there's 1,000 members and each one of them is like paying full amount to hit the, $974,000, everyone would be paying $81 a month.
No,
Which
it's,
isn't crazy.
no,
but
it's
that's
just,
with 1,000 people.
like, if you look at annual resident passes on,
Page 10.
Yeah.
page 10, table 10.5, we look annual resident passes. Projections is on the first year is 500 annual passes. And so that is at it says somewhere's at $37 a month, which equals $418 dollars a year. And that's 209,000 a year for the annual residents. Then you go to the non-residents, and then you go to monthly resident passes, and then dailies. So that is for projection, and we actually went low just because of the demographics here and everything. The team on the screen, Elsa and Tom and Carl, been doing this for a long time, and they thought it was gonna be a lot higher. And so with us and our expertise in this area, we're like, I think we need to bring it down a little bit to start and see how things
Yeah.
go.
What does the Y have, like total numbers, like period? Because that could be helpful in determining that, and like, and our total rec center, like, do we have like, how many people from specific demographics are enrolled? Like, how many people get a discount, how many people paying full
I
price?
think our current rec center, I don't think we don't have membership, so there's
Yeah.
there's,
Yeah,
it's apples to oranges.
Exactly.
Just totally changing what we offer.
Well, no, but I mean, whether it's apples to oranges or not, that's bodies in a building.
We don't
But we don't-
count,
Yeah.
entries into the building. So currently, we're a program-based operation,
Yeah.
meaning that, you register for program, you participate. We
Right.
have a handful of drop-ins, but we don't do true, what I refer to as gate clicks.
Okay,
People through the door. We haven't needed to do that. We're not structured that way versus the Y versus Planet Fitness where you swipe or you click in,
Right.
or you buy a membership. We don't structure that way.
Yeah.
and we don't use our facility we just have a small little facility.
Yeah.
We have, 40 something basketball teams and we have one little gymnasium.
Yeah.
So we're using the high school, the MCC, the middle schools, the elementary schools, we're using everything. And we do have numbers for programs, like numbers of participants. I can't give you that right now, but this is a whole new ballgame because it will be, a place for birthday parties and the fitness and, a kitchen, do culinary camps, we'll do arts and crafts stuff. That's gonna change this whole operation.
Yeah.
Offering a lot more to the community that is needed.
So. Do you remember when you made put in the new fitness center? Like that, I was part of the class, like the last class. Where that wasn't available, I got to use it like for a summer after graduation. And it was still part of my bill. So it seems like this has a little bit of like that kind of feel where there's a lot of people that are gonna be understandably upset if they start seeing their taxes offsetting what might have been like an overestimation of how many people are gonna use it.
Tracy?
Yes,
No, it's kind of a very done question. I know, they may have already done this or it may be impossible, so this could be a bad idea. How much work would it be, or would it be of value to look at? I'm sure that there are market norms for an urban sort of community and norms in terms of recreational space and so that the data is probably out there. But you know what you have for square footage of recreational space now. If you look at the schools that are being actively used outside the school for the community, you know what you have for space. We know how many facilities there are. If we think about a new YMCA facility and this facility, I wonder if there's a way to do sort of a market study or market analysis of resource versus capacity to be able to say, look, because I know this is out there, it's come up a couple of times in this group, but I'm sure it's going to be some talk in the community of, why do we need this? And I think folks feel like it's a very good idea. I wonder if there would be any way to put any data to that, to be able to show a graph or show that, look, our need exceeds our available resources. Does that make sense?
it does make sense. So we can, couple of things. So as we've talked about already and we've done benchmarking as part of the original study and done benchmarking as part of this update. As we've chatted about, it's a difficult apples to apples benchmarking with other communities around the country. Saying that, we can certainly share with you, and can tell you now that both us and the Y, and I'm gonna look at Deb, she's probably more in tune with this day to year than I am. Both of us have been utilizing schools for programming. So you think about the schools that we would utilize, the high school, sometimes Doughty, sometimes Cohen, Fairmount, Mary Snow, Down East, 14th
Fine.
and Vaughn. And last summer we were at Abe Lincoln for a summer camp. So I don't know if it's answering your question, Chris, other than to say to you, though, that gives you somewhat of an idea of what the Parks and Recreation Department has been using for space, because that's the choice we have. The Y has been utilizing some of the same gym space that we do over the years. At one point, the Y was utilizing the fitness center out to the bay, out to, almost said out to the base.
UMA.
Out to UMA. They use field space out there. The Y has utilized our field space. So I share all that with you in a long way, hopefully provide some context to your question. And again, this region, this state is different, a little different than other parts of the country. We saw that and have seen that through discussions with Barry Dunn and some of the things we've seen as well. So to wrap up an answer, we can certainly develop the square footage of the gym at Fairmount, square footage of, and give you that. The arena, it's going to be the closest arena to us right here is Alphon and Penobscot Ice Arena. I don't know if that.
Well, and I'm certainly not trying to add to any scope of work. It's come up before, and you know, when I hear you describe that, I think it's pretty compelling.
Yeah.
You really look at some of those issues. I wonder if there's a way it might add some objectivity to a report or to messaging to the community to kind of understand some of those challenges. You've talked about the limitations of Sawyer. Certainly, we understand the limitations at the current parks and rec facility, but you know, when you look at the scope of what, because of these limitations, we're being forced to use all these other facilities. We're still struggling to meet demand. I think to me, as I listen to that, it's pretty compelling, and that might be a valuable piece of this for the community.
No, we can certainly add that to your final report. If that's something y'all, yeah, sure.
Well, if you look at the total number, you know, Bangor's got what, 32,000 surrounding communities. If you just say 100,000, simple math, we're only utilizing, you know, 1%. And then the same thing with Wise, but 1%. Now, you know, more people than that utilize it. So, I mean, plus or minus, I think that's probably safe. Just look at the big numbers.
Okay.
One question I had, and you might know about this, Ben, but like Cameron Stadium, when Cameron Stadium went out to vote and all that, and I feel like there was some event, and I'm looking at you because I feel like it was when you were on council, some event that only happened at Cameron because it got refreshed or updated. You know what I'm talking?
Yeah, they
It's like a
had
track
some
event or,
high school playoffs, like the field hockey has to be on turf. Football has to be on turf to be in the playoffs. So previously it was grass, so they couldn't hold postseason games there.
so by investing in it, it actually brought in new revenue that wasn't there before.
I can speak to that a little bit since that's what I
But-
directed and quite proud of that. So we hosted a New England Track and Field Championship where
Yeah,
7 states came with 50 athletes from each state and all that. Never would be able to host that.
did they all
without the
sleep in their car?
facility
Did
we
they bring
have.
some economic activity?
We've hosted 5 state championship football games.
Yep,
4 soccer games. Basically, we're one of the go-to sites of the Maine Principals Association now. Before the facility and the turf and the track, we would never have been asked. We're on a regular rotation. At the minimum, we'll host multiple regional championships.
Yeah.
And those are anywhere from 4 to 18, sometimes many more. We've hosted a Class A state championship. So before this facility, we hosted 0.
Yeah.
So that's just in the short time, and it's been less than 5 years.
yeah, it hasn't been that long.
Yeah.
And so just to, you know, like when you have the facilities and Maine is pretty spread out, you can look at how they rank the Class A and how they're trying to make it so that not every team is in Portland. But when you look at the facilities and having an improved facility that could do both for the Y and for, you know, if you have a swim meet at the Y. The other thing too, when you talk about the use of space, like we're talking about the Y and the city and the schools, but you know, the other one that uses these facilities too, John Baptist ends up traveling around and using city facilities. So there's probably other groups that I don't know about that are also trying to get in and get physical space like that. So I think
There's a lot for
And to
sure.
keep plugging, so part of this is, they did a great job. We met with a lot of the stakeholders groups, so we met with
Yeah.
the school departments, all their athletic directors.
Yeah,
Ice, and I can just speak to the things even from gym time to even if we had thought about potentially a bigger track, because basically every area track team goes up to University of Maine.
yeah,
That's the only indoor facility during the winter, so where we fell on some things, we had some very strong interest. John Bass being one, I know the athletic director pretty close. Hassan, he utilizes a lot, he utilizes Cameron and some of our facilities there, so there's definitely, as part of this work that was done in the performer and the programs that were prepared for you, that's all part of that. There's definitely interest out there.
And one of the other, one of the things, just for people who are watching at home and see this and see red, like in our home budgets, we don't like to see red, but city is not a business, it's a, it's a service, but every time you get one of those track meets or playoff football games, I would anticipate that there's probably people at restaurants, people bringing in, staying at hotels, people spending in our town, so it also has an economic driver that isn't accounted for in here. So just to make that point, because I know I don't like to see red in my own budget, so.
I think those are the objective things that when people, because that's gonna be a natural question, do we really need this? And I think those are the kind of, understanding that our needs exceed our capacity
Yeah.
and understanding that there is some intangible, well, it's tangible economic impact, but some projected economic impact for the area too. I mean, to me, those are all, I live outside Bangor, but if I was a Bangor city resident, those are things that would be important to me.
And if you live outside of Bangor on that side of town, and you want a fitness center and you can get it without, is it even it is within city limits, right? Is that within the city limits line?
It's
Can't
dead center.
remember.
Yeah, it's right in the middle of the
Yeah.
city. Griffin
Yeah.
Road? Yeah, it's right in the middle.
Yeah.
Geographically, it's in the middle of the city.
Yes.
I know, but I.
I couldn't help but flip that rock over, right? I knew, you did well to hold that long though.
But, you have those outlying towns, you get the non-resident fees, so maybe it ends up that the Y gets people from Hamden, Winterport, and this gets the Glenburn, Outer Broadway folks.
Well, in larger picture discussion,
Yeah.
just thinking about what there indeed really is available here in the city and in the surrounding areas for that component, that activity.
Yeah.
And I think we count them off and we're still on one hand. So that's some of the things we found and the study that we have indicates that it improves the market. So, any questions of the Barry Dunn folks while they're there? The intent, once the committee is settled with both the CHA estimate and the fitness edition, the thought would be to include it as part of your final report back to council unless the committee thinks otherwise, and that we should not, but certainly think it's all information that, or we can, or some pieces of it, I guess. I said that out loud. I don't know that the line item section needs to be included, but some pieces of the information that we have here today would be included as part of your final report.
I think the summary would be good, but I also think, as we talked about, I don't know if we were in an official meeting, we discussed it, but talking about what our current subsidy rate is for the city.
Yep.
And if it's possible to even have an appraisal of what the reuse of our existing
Yeah,
sites would
no,
be.
I'll find that out.
I have one more question.
And I have
You wanna go first?
well, so I don't think it's a bad thing to use the school's gyms. I mean, I think the city, they're gonna sit empty or they can be used, so I don't think that's a negative that you've been able to use the school.
It's not the
And then I have a question.
biggest ideal.
And why, I mean, they're sitting empty. I mean, we should be using them.
Well, so not necessarily. So
Not necessarily.
we squeeze into them and Deb will certainly follow up with this. We squeeze into them when they're available. They're not always available to us because the school has programming.
Okay.
So we get into Bangor High School on Sundays, because that's what's available to us. We get into all these other schools because we kind of hopscotch around because we go where the space is available.
And the little schools don't have full gyms either, though.
They don't, so we can get our little basketball teams in there, but then and then I'd say at least 3 times a week, I'd get a phone call from a coach and the doors are locked. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
parents are there dropping their
Yeah,
kids off.
Yeah.
It's, you've been there.
Currently there.
It's, I'm there every night, I'm home.
Cause
having dinner.
both the Wise project and this project is triple gyms, I think triple or
I don't
quadruple.
think theirs is.
The Wise at least double gym, maybe 3 also.
There's not enough gyms in this
I
community.
mean, so,
We
Right.
know that first.
Speaking as a 20-year Bangor High basketball coach and
there's not enough. gyms.
Debbie, since she's been here, the travel program, I mean, we didn't have travel basketball for some of the years I was coaching the girls' teams. We built that program up, but you look at the 2 middle schools, just Dowdy and Cohen. an A and a B girls team, so there's 4 teams. Cheerleaders now is quite big in all the sports, so really they give up time to try to help out some of the Parks and Rec programs and vice versa. So really, Monday through Friday, it's hard to get into any of the middle school gyms or the high school gym.
Yeah, the middle school, they let us use it, but we can only start at 8 o'clock at night.
Right.
So,
Right.
for the middle school gyms, so at 8 o'clock, we don't really want second and third graders in there, you know, at 8 o'clock at night. We do put some of the 7th and 8th graders and,
Yeah.
you know, some parents, it's not the ideal time, but we do what we can.
Okay, point received. The other question more for Barry Dunn. So when you shared with us their initial look at the needs in the community, I don't remember the formal name of that study. It was dated like years back, I feel like, and I was wondering, so this was the question. Did they know the why was well into the planning at the time you were asking the community? And did the community know the why was well into planning at the time they were asking the community these questions? Because I don't think the community knew, oh my, you know, if they knew the needs were gonna be met, I don't know that they would have answered it the same way. I think the hockey rink still would have been, yeah, we need a new hockey rink, but short of that, if they knew that the why was also in plans to address the needs, would the needs have been needed to be addressed by the city, I guess is my question.
So when we met with residents, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Finally, when we met with residents, Tracy had shared with us that the YMCA was investigating new options, and that was not a secret. And I mean, every community I've worked in, managing facilities like the one you want to build, there's always been a YMCA and everybody's always been successful. So it's, you know, typically you get about 10% of your community to buy a fitness pass, and I think our pro forma has you less than 4%. I mean, we've been really conservative on the fitness side. And, you know, as far as the gym side, I mean, Tom, you can back me up. Every community center that we've ever helped people build, 1 or 2 years in, they're like, oh, we wish we built an extra gym. I mean, it's a very common, you know, there's so many things that Debbie struggles to find gym space for with the programs you have. That doesn't even take into account the things that you haven't even been able to offer. The new things.
If I could just add with the gym situation, as Debbie said, and Tracy, using the school gym sounds good, but you get what's left over, and then you also get canceled quite regularly. If your basketball team makes the playoffs, they want more practices, your program gets canceled. And every you know, typically recreation centers have a gymnasium, and it's highly used, and it has meeting space, classrooms, and fitness space. Those things all get used.
I mean, I appreciate that, because I think we're all gonna be asked these questions, and
sure.
we needed to hear them fleshed out and how, yeah, when I get asked that question, I'm like, yeah,
You know,
don't we just use a school gym?
Another
You know.
point for, you know, just basketball, I'm just talking
Yeah.
the 3 court that we're talking
Yeah.
about. We could host all of our basketball practices there and all of our games. And like, not just the schools for when the doors are locked. It's when there's a snow day or when the school's not in session, April vacation, February, none of those teams have practices. Only the ones that we scheduled in Parks and Rec. So all the other teams are losing out because the schools are not open. And we
Right,
can't get in. So, and we only have one little gym, so, you know, maybe 10 teams out of 40 get practices that whole week.
Right.
And that happens a lot, and that day they'll call, oh my God, tomorrow we have, you know, parent step up night, you gotta cancel all your stuff. And a lot of these teams just don't get the practices like a couple of the other teams do. And it's definitely a need in the community, and we, like, you know, like Tom was saying, or Elsa, we don't get to do the things that we're not doing now. We don't do basketball tournaments. We have no gym space for basketball tournaments. You know, we would fill that place, you know, we would
We
fill,
travel to Saco for tournament,
yeah.
yeah,
because that facility will have kid host tournament.
Yeah.
But there's nothing ever up here.
yeah.
So let me jump in for a sec though, but wasn't the question, did anybody know?
Yeah, I
Like,
still
that
feel like
They
we did know the
They did.
extent of the
We-
project. We can't have known that. There's no
We-
way.
I mean, I knew because members of the
Yeah.
Y
Yeah,
And they talked about it, and like, I know people that are like, involved with that project, but there's no way the general public knows.
no.
I didn't know about this project until I was invited to be on the committee. And the
Well-
first thing we came here, like in the charter that I got, was that we were gonna be talking about locations. But my first meeting here, that had already been decided. So like the first meeting I got here, I found out, I did a bunch of homework looking at locations, seeing what would work and what would not work. But then I got the Barry Dunn report and read it, and when I asked questions about it, got shut down because this project's already underway, it's happening.
I mean, that was
Who has
done
been
through city
using-
council, but like, when I was on council, and so the location was just to sort of like highlight the location and where it was gonna be, so it wasn't about to, that was done. It wasn't done in secret or anything like that, it was.
Right, but no,
Parks and Rec.
the question was, did people know? I didn't know about that, even the first meeting that I attended here, like, that wasn't clear. It was, like, the document that I had was, we were gonna discuss, like, the first thing I thought was that a location would be established. Okay, cool, we'll discuss that, but that's already done.
It had started months and months prior to that.
Yeah, but we
And
didn't know that, and that was the question she was asking. How much do other people know?
It's, I can share with you, and Elsa, we had some very public discussions. Certainly the approval for the funding for the original feasibility study is a public discussion. As Elsa has shared with you, we've been upfront with them from the beginning of the original feasibility study that the why was, and candidly, we shared with them that the why, it was time for the why to have that same discussion. We both agree, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we're gonna meet with the why. There's opportunities, and I think we've kind of talked about this before, what's gonna be parallel, what's gonna be different, and share that with you as well. The location, again, it was a review of the process. The original feasibility study was indeed accepted by council. The Griffin Road property presents the best location for the entire city. This report is gonna recommend to the council what the next step for them is. We're early in our process. This feasibility study is just, that's the first few steps to continue the progress for new facilities. To answer the question, did the why? No, the why has been going through the same parallel process that we're going through. They're planning, so did the why have all of their plans a year ago that they had 2 months ago? Neither did we. Both efforts have been happening parallel. Both have been public discussions. We had several stakeholder meetings. We had 2 public forums. And out of all of that, generated the final feasibility study of a year ago, and is why you all are here at the table today.
So Chris Broughton and then Ben. You guys are-
So it was, our last discussion about the various schools, it's a lesser point, but the reality is if you're trying to use the Cohen School for one game on a Saturday afternoon, I think if you look at collectively all those schools, that means you're trying to make sure you're taking care of the parking lots and sidewalks so they're safe. You're heating them. Somebody's got to go in and clean it up when people traipse through the hallways and bathrooms and gyms and whatever. And just from a logistics perspective, I think having one facility where you've got to clean and maintain versus having 4, 5, 6 around the city over the course of a season, or the course of a basketball season, it starts to become a factor. I'm sure schools are paying custodians to come in on the weekends to take care of things that otherwise would have been cleaned up Friday night, and we wouldn't have an issue until Monday morning. So it's a lesser piece, but I think it's when you think about why would it make sense to have one consolidated facility, it's over time that adds up. So.
And Ben.
Thanks. A couple of quick points. The other place we're overflowing is with fields. Union Street soccer is really busy. The parking lot is hard to get in and out of. I know you've moved some of the youth from Saturdays to weeknights. I just put plug in. I see it on future site additions, and far be it from me to swell the budget further. But I think if you look at the universe of kids that do field sports, whether it's soccer, lacrosse, field hockey, it's really big. Bangor Soccer Club this spring has like 760 kids playing. So you look at the universe, I think for the cost, I'd love to see some fields. The hockey people are gonna body check me into the boards by saying this, but the universe of hockey players is smaller and the cost is really quite high for the 2 sheets of ice in this. So I know a lot of other people skate too, our family included. And Sawyer is, a decade past its useful life at least.
At least.
So I'm for the rinks, it just like, there's a lot of expense for the 2 sheets where you got needs for fields and pickleball courts and other things. And the other thing on the cash flow statement that doesn't include is the debt service. And I know that's not necessarily part of the operations of the building, that's administrable expense, but people are gonna ask and wonder, of course, when you look at this, the price tag, where's the funding coming from? What's that gonna look like for taxpayers?
Well, it's all fair. It's all fair.
Tracy, just, before we let them go, just a couple questions on
Yep.
cost.
Yep.
Maybe.
For Carl, the
For
cost,
somebody, if to try to look at this cost study and kind of go dive in a little more detail. Would there be a possibility of getting some rough dimensions on some of the elevations maybe and some of just again, high level dimensions would be helpful?
Oh, yeah, no, that's easy. I mean, I think the drawing diagrams are to scale and we can easily provide that.
You weren't here last
I
time.
wasn't.
There's a big handout with elevations and all of that.
Well, I is this what you're talking about?
no, so that is on,
Take this
bangormaine.gov.
Okay.
I did put that on there.
Thank you.
Yeah, that.
Is there?
Dimensions
on
on
there?
I double checked it, Carl, on some of the renderings that we most recently did. Are there dimensions in those? I don't remember.
No, I
I'd have
don't-
to check the plans. I think they are drawn to scale, but we can easily add
Add some dimensions. to it.
dimensions. Yep.
And then are there any sustainability goals in your budget estimate? Solar panels.
We've arranged the spaces based on solar collector panels on the long span spaces, that the opportunity exists there. We've also tried to, some of the key components are natural lighting, as well as the steel framing that's recyclable, and so there are basic components that could be green, and you could go for LEED certification as well. But basically the strategy was try to use green components where possible.
So are we gonna try to meet an energy code or try to exceed it to offset operational expense later?
I
that-
think you have the opportunity to meet or exceed, and that's really, as you know, as plans are further developed down the way, you have that opportunity. But I think we wanted to, with the building plan as a single story structure, wanted to make sure that we can get daylighting in the primary rooms, as well as, keep it efficient. And also, as I said before, is have really spend the money at the front, and go vanilla toward the back, just to really save on cost.
And what were your thoughts there? Just high level envelope thoughts?
So we're thinking that, the front facade would be storefront and brick. And then as you head toward the back, the steel cladding is possible, but we're seeing a lot more, due to the price of steel and aluminum at the moment, we're seeing a lot more fiber cement panels that really mimic the look of the steel panels, and have the same durability components. So I think that there's, as the market moves forward, we're going to see a lot more competition in that kind of type product.
Okay, no, that's helpful. And then FF&E wise, would the bleachers be an FF&E item or are they gonna be built into construction?
So I mean, typically what we do is we'll have some tilt and roll that can go into storage for smaller bleacher systems, but the larger bleacher banks would be built in as part of the pricing model.
Like a hussy seating type of?
Like a hussy, yeah, exactly. And then I think, as we move to the skating center, those are actually fixed grandstand seats.
Okay. No, that's helpful. We can just look into it a little bit, right? Just know the price of aluminum and steel is.
It's
all over the
a
place.
little
Yeah.
problematic at the moment. Yeah.
So that'll go away quickly.
Yeah.
And then Tracy, were you ever able to do a boring over there? Anything at all?
They're willing to go over and we can still do that before
Yeah.
and relatively quickly. Nate said, just give us a call and it's just 2 or 3 He was gonna look to see what they had from, I keep getting confused at 5 or 6 over there. Yeah. Station 5, the fire station over there. They did do that when they built fire station.
Any other questions?
Excuse me. The only other thing to think about, the next meeting is scheduled for Juneteenth, so that'd be a holiday for the city. We can shift the day, we can shift the week. I'll leave that up to the group.
Don't we have to get a report in?
July 10th.
So can we do June 18th, the day is that a possibility?
That could be a possibility. I'll find out space availability here. And once I confirm that, we'll send out a calendar invite to have it on the calendars.
I think shifting a day would be nice, and then make sure that I have David Warren,
Yep.
everybody know.
Yep.
When's the report due again in June?
July
July 10th.
10th.
But before that, because
Yeah.
that's when it goes to the meeting. Is
Yeah,
that right?
it needs
Is
to
that
be on
council
the
meeting?
agenda.
So
Yeah.
your charge is to have the report ready for the council by July 10th.
Yeah.
Okay,
So they'll have to schedule
Back
it.
that up a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And who's leading that report?
City staff will write it and we'll approve it. That's the way I understand it.
Yep.
And so on the cost side and just as a validation more or less?
Confirming that this is the best estimate we have here.
Yeah.
To provide them, and then they'll make decisions on the next step forward. This information will be included in that. Context of the meetings you've had, discussions we've had. We'll include the discussion we had with the Y next week. If we can get some sort of appraisal for the property, at the Park and Rec Center, just a higher level guess.
Mhm.
It could even be information from the tax card. What the city has it assessed at.
But it's $1 million.
Okay.
Round number.
Yep.
Needs improvement though.
This is why we're sitting here.
Why?
Corner, the hot corner.
Elsa, Tom, Carl, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
$5,000